Welcome to another weekly current affairs session powered by Amrita IAS Academy. Myself, 𝐂𝐥𝐻𝐸. Let's begin. The first article is about China's Great Green Wall Initiative. China's Great Green Wall themes desert growth, but scientists say fight is not over. For half of a century, workers in northern China have been using a technique called straw checkboards to combat desertification. So, facts related to Great Green Wall Initiative and straw checkboards should be noted. So, the article examines China's 3 North Shelter Forest Program or 3 North Protective Forest Program, popularly known as Great Green Wall of China. So, the article examines this program, Great Green Wall Initiative of China. So, this program has significantly slowed the expansion of Gobi and 𝐿 Desert through large-scale afforestation. So, large-scale afforestation program known as the Great Green Wall Initiative has reduced the expansion of Gobi and 𝐿 Desert. So, the Great Green Wall Initiative of China is related to Gobi and 𝐿 Desert. The official name of this program also should be noted, 3 North Shelter Forest Program. So, the facts related to program, let's check out the facts related to program. 3 North Protective Forest Program. So, this program was launched in the year 1978 and the target completion year is 2015. It's a very long stretched program. The popular name of this program is Great Green Wall of China. Coverage is northern, northeastern and northwestern China. The coverage might not be important, but the objective of this program is important to combat desertification and reduce sandstorm. Where? In Gobi Desert. The major desert is Gobi Desert and the nearby 𝐿 Desert also is associated with the Great Green Wall of China. Implementation country is obviously China. So, these are the basic facts that you should know about the Great Green Wall Initiative. And the article also says that this program has significantly slowed the expansion of Gobi and 𝐿 Desert. But scientists have cautioned that tree planting alone cannot permanently solve desertification, and as climate change, water scarcity and ecological degradation continue to pose major challenge. So, this program can obviously be noted as an example of the various initiatives to combat desertification. Okay, the Great Green Wall of China. But this is not the one solution. This is not the ultimate solution to combat desertification, because planting trees alone cannot permanently solve desertification, because climate change, water scarcity and ecological degradation continue to pose a challenge. That is what this article says. Okay, so we have seen the basic facts about 3 North Protective Forest Program. Next, we have to have an understanding about what are these straw checkboards. Straw checkboards to combat desertification, because in this article itself straw checkboards are mentioned. So, straw checkboards are, as you can see here, these are this checkboard kind of structures which are made of straw. Okay, simple and widely used method to stabilize sand dunes. So, if these are placed in desert, what happens is that it stabilizes sand dunes against the wind and help plants to take root by using water supplied through irrigation system. So, water will be supplied separately through irrigation system and seedlings will be planted. Okay, so this checkboard like material, the checkboard like structure made of straw will essentially prevent the desert or the sand dunes from moving. This stabilizes the sand dunes, and that is how straw checkboards, that is why straw checkboards are used. Okay, that's all about the prelims facts required from this article. Now, if a question related to Great Wall Initiative of China is asked, Great Green Wall Initiative is asked, or about combat desertification is asked, understand that having or drawing a diagram like this can fetch you more marks. So, how planting trees can help you combat desertification? You can draw this diagram. To fetch more marks. Okay, so planting trees means wind speed will be reduced, and this will cause for less wind erosion, and sand will be stabilized, reduced desert expansion will be there, improved soil moisture, the moisture of soil will be increased, and it will cause for better agriculture and biodiversity. So, a diagram like this can fetch you more marks for your mains. And that's all about this article. Let's move on to the next article. Next article is an explained article from the Hindu itself. Big tech's AI race comes at a steep environmental cost. So, what are the environmental cost of big tech's AI race? So, AI, artificial intelligence, is being used everywhere nowadays, right? And big techs like Google, Microsoft, Meta, all are using AI, all are developing AI. So all these are having various data centers. So what are these data centers? So data center is a physical facility that houses computing infrastructure to store, manage and process digital data for business, cloud service and application. So this is a physical infrastructure like this. So you can see this room, right? So this are having high performing chips, AI chips. So these data centers causes greenhouse gas emission, or this data centers comes out, not only these data centers, even the data centers comes out with environmental cost. So we have to see what are the environmental cost associated with these data centers. So in this article, the Hindu article, the greenhouse gas protocol finds a mention. The greenhouse gas protocol finds a mention. Okay, so what is this greenhouse gas protocol? So it's world's widely used international framework to measure, manage and report greenhouse gas emissions. This is the world's widely used framework to measure greenhouse gas emission. Okay, so this is developed by World Resource Institute and World Business Council for Sustainable Development. World Resource Institute together with the World Business Council for Sustainable Development has developed this framework called the greenhouse gas protocol. Okay, these are very important facts for your prelims. Now according to this framework, emissions can be divided into three scopes. So the word used here is scope. The three scopes of emission according to the greenhouse gas emission: scope 1, scope 2 and scope 3. Scope 1 basically covers emission within the company, while scope 3 captures the broader value chain impact. Okay, so scope 1 captures direct emissions, while scope 2 captures the indirect emission caused within the company. So direct emissions, what are the direct emissions? So company facility, the company vehicles. So for example, take the case of Amrita IAS Academy. Here we have a car, we have a bus for carrying students. So all these emit carbon dioxide, all these emit various greenhouse gases, right? So that will be coming under scope 1 here. And we have a generator to supply current in case of current is blocked. We have a, so in case of a current cut, we have a generator. So that comes under scope 1 direct emission. The emission by generator will be included in scope 1. And what are included in scope 2? Scope 2 include indirect emissions. So indirect emissions from generation of purchased electricity, steam, heating and cooling consumed by the company. For example, take the case of Amrita IAS. So we purchase electricity from KSEB, and KSEB, in order to produce the electricity provided by KSEB, they might have purchased it from some other entity, or they might have been producing it by themselves. So KSEB has hydroelectric power projects, KSEB has got other various power projects. So the electricity might have been produced from coal power project. So all this has got an emission, right? So that emission will be coming under scope 2. And scope 3 are other indirect emissions coming from other upstream and downstream activity like waste generated, business travel and commuting. For example, some staff coming to Amrita IAS Academy, they will be using some kind of travel mode. It might be road, it might be rail, it might be air. Okay, so all the emissions contributed by the staffs, that will be included in scope 3. So similarly, all the tech used by AI, the AI companies will generate greenhouse gas emission. So according to the greenhouse gas protocol, the scope of emissions are divided into 3: scope 1, scope 2 and scope 3. Scope 1 include direct emissions, scope 2 include the indirect emissions that happening within the company, and scope 3 include other indirect emission that is happening outside the company in the upstream and downstream activities. Okay, so these are the basics that you have to know about the greenhouse gas protocol. Why we have discussed this? Because the big tech's AI race comes at a steep environmental cost, and this article actually discussed about this sustainability report from Amazon, Google and Microsoft show the companies confirming sharp increase in the carbon emission even as they try to justify the rising numbers in diverse ways. So that is how the sustainability report from Amazon, Google and Microsoft were calculated using the greenhouse gas protocol. Now what are the environmental costs associated with, what are the massive environmental costs associated with AI can be asked. So understand that in order to maintain data centers, like huge data centers, we need high electricity consumption. Not only that, high electricity consumption is required, large fresh water is used for cooling, because even a laptop, even a tab generate huge heat energy, right? And running a large data center will be generating that much heat energy. In order to cool down that data centers, huge freshwater resources are also required. And also understand that increased greenhouse gas emission will happen together with building or having large data centers. And rising demand for critical mineral is another thing, and growing electronic waste is another impact where AI can have on environment. Okay, AI can have on environment. What are the impact the AI can have on environment can be asked, and I have given the details in this slide. Please go and check out this slide. Please download the slide from the description and write down the note down these points. Okay, how high electricity consumption is generated, what are the carbon footprint related issues, so how carbon footprint will be generated, and specifically why water footprint should be there in the answer. Water footprint should be there in the answer because evaporative cooling, cooling towers, chilled water systems are various systems used to cool down these various data centers, and these techniques require high freshwater consumption. Okay, and this freshwater consumption can have competition with agriculture and domestic water needs. And India, specifically India, is a very water stressed country, and building more and more data centers can have larger water footprint and can impact the water stress and can cause water scarcity in a region. Okay, and critical mineral demand is also one another thing. Various critical minerals should be noted: lithium, cobalt, nickel, copper, graphite, rare earth elements. So these elements, the name of this element should come in the answer. And what are the challenges associated with critical mineral demand? The environmental challenges, because the mining in order to mine these elements, it's actually it will actually cause environmental pollution, right? And also the next direct impact can be more and more generation of electronic waste, the increased generation of electronic waste. So all these problems associated with AI, the impact of AI on environment should be there in your answer. Okay, now not only that AI can have negative impact, you have to understand that AI can have positive impact also. So what are the positive impact of AI? You should have 1 2 3 4 5 6 points list down, so that you can directly go and write down in the mains answer. Okay, so the climate monitoring and modeling can be improved using AI, and these can support tracking of temperature rise, sea level change, and extreme events. And in agriculture also, you can improve yield while reducing resource use and reducing emission. So you might know that agriculture is one of the major cause of emission of greenhouse gases, and using AI in agriculture can reduce resource utilization and emission. Okay, and energy systems can be improved using AI. For example, in Kerala, recently we are facing power issues. Power cuts have been frequent, and without any warning also the power might be going, the power cut will be coming. Okay, why? Because we are unable to forecast energy demand and optimize the supply, and using AI, using artificial intelligence techniques, we will be able to forecast in a much better way, and that is how energy system will be improved. And enhancing performance performance of smart grids and energy storage will have an impact on environment. Okay, now biodiversity conservation also can be enhanced by using AI. Counting tigers, counting elephants can be improved using AI. Then pollution monitoring can be improved using AI. AQI of a city can be much more improved by using AI techniques. Okay, predicted, the pollution impact of a chemical can be predicted much more easily or efficiently using various AI techniques. Then deforestation monitoring can be done using AI, and waste management and circular economy, the AI can have a significant impact, and disaster risk reduction can be done because AI models can predict flood, cyclones, wildfire and landslide much before it happens. So this can have an impact. These are the various impacts that you should mention in the answer sheet. If a question related to impact on environment by AI is asked, the impact can be negative and impact can be positive. You have to have the points to write. Okay. Now this topic is really important. Green AI. Green AI. So what do you mean by green AI? So green AI focuses on designing, developing and deploying AI systems that deliver high performance while minimizing environmental impact. So AI that focuses on designing, developing and deploying AI systems. So green AI basically focuses on developing AI system that deliver high performance while minimizing environmental impact. So that is simply what is green AI. So impact of green AI, the various enablers of green AI should be noted. Policy and standards, cross-sector collaboration, skill awareness and innovation and research all can enable green AI. So this can be asked. What do you mean by green AI? Can be a question that can either come for your prelims or can come for your mains. Okay. So please go and check out this slide. The points I have listed in this slides, please go and have a look. Please download the slide from the description. Okay. Let's write an answer. Artificial intelligence is both an enabler of sustainable development and a contributor to environmental degradation. Discuss. Please go and write the answer. This can be asked for your mains. A similar question you can expect for your mains. Okay. Now next topic is related to a bird. 60 years after disappearing from Gir, Indian grey hornbills breed for 4th consecutive year. So this is an article related to Indian grey hornbills. So a study documents that successful establishment of reintroduced population with breeding recorded every year since the bird were released in 2021. So this bird was reintroduced to a certain location, okay, in Gir, and that reintroduction program was successful. So this is related to Indian grey hornbill. Indian grey hornbill. The facts related to Indian grey hornbill can be asked. That is why we have to check out the facts related to Indian grey hornbill. First, check what is the IUCN protection status. So it's least concern. Don't worry about that because UPSC will not ask. UPSC might ask that Indian grey hornbill is a critically endangered, but understand that it's not critically endangered. It's not even vulnerable or endangered. It's actually least concern. So you need not worry about the status here. Okay. Now the geographical spread of this species has to be noted. It's found across India, and here in Rajasthan it might not be found, but understand that all throughout India the Indian grey hornbill is found. It's not endemic to Western Ghats, it's not endemic to northeastern India. A question like that can appear for prelims. That is why I am specifically saying that it's not endemic to any of this region. Okay, it's found throughout this region. So please have an idea about this location distribution of this species. So that's all about this species. Now let's check out the next concept called compensatory afforestation. Compensatory afforestation. What is compensatory afforestation? Explained. That is the Hindu article. While compensatory afforestation is suitable for developing economy to maintain sustainability, one of its main drawback is that plantations are inherently different from natural ecosystem. That is what this Hindu article says. Let's delve into the details about this article, about compensatory afforestation. So why this appears in news? The National Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority (CAMPA) last week has gave note to 4 projects aimed at conserving river dolphins, snow leopards, Indian rhinoceros and wild buffaloes, along with a set of initiatives to preserve wildlife and green cover across the country. That is why this has been in news. Let's check out the facts related to compensatory afforestation. What do you mean by compensatory afforestation? Compensatory afforestation refers to creation of forest on non-forest land or degraded forest land in certain cases to compensate for diversion of forest land for non-forest purposes. So compensatory afforestation, suppose for any developmental projects, a forest patch has to be cleared. What has to be done? For the forest patch to be cleared, there is a cost for clearing that forest patch. So there is a cost of that environment, cost of the services that is provided by the forest patch. That cost has to be borne by the entity who is developing that project, and that cost, that price has to be that cost has to be given to a certain authority called Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management Authority. Okay, so that authority will use the fund to afforest a certain other region. It refers to creation of forest on non-forest land or degraded forest land to compensate for the diversion of forest land for non-forest purposes. So what are the main objectives? Main objective is to maintain country's forest cover, offset ecological loss, restore ecosystem services and support climate change mitigation. So these are the main objectives, but first of all you have to understand that this Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority has got a legal authority, has got a legal sanction. So where does this sanction come from? So initially in the Forest Conservation Act of 1980, project that wishes to divert the land must identify land elsewhere to afforest and pay the land value for the afforestation exercise. The land value for the afforestation exercise, the value for that land should be paid by the authority who is diverting the forest land. That is what this Forest Conservation Act of 1980 says. So whoever is diverting the forest land, they have to pay the money to convert any other patch of land which has to be afforested. Okay, so later in 2002, the Supreme Court has established the fund called CAMPA as the National Advisory Council for monitoring, technical assistance and evaluating of compensatory afforestation activities administered through the Compensatory Afforestation Fund. So there is a Compensatory Afforestation Fund. The Forest Conservation Act has said that, and later the Supreme Court has established an authority called CAMPA, and later, so this authority was established in 2002, and later there was an act called the Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act, which was enacted in 2016, and Compensatory Afforestation Fund Rules 2018 were notified. So that this CAMPA, the authority, the Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management and Planning Authority, got the statutory authority. Okay, this act created two funds in the sense, one for the center, and there are funds created for all the states. So one fund is for the center, that fund is called National Compensatory Afforestation Fund, the national fund, and then there is State Compensatory Afforestation Fund. So India, the central government has a fund called National Fund, and Kerala will be having a fund called State CAMPA, and the Karnataka, the Tamil Nadu will similarly have similar funds for afforestation purposes. Okay, so what are the fund utilized for? This can be utilized for afforestation of identified land, forest regeneration and conservation, wildlife protection and management, monitoring, evaluation and capacity building, and even for administrative expenses as per mentioned in the rules. Okay, so these are the various ways in which the fund can be utilized. So the flow of this process also should be noted. So this can be noted for your mains. Okay, this can be utilized for your mains. A diagram like this can be drawn in your mains papers to fetch more marks. So compensatory afforestation, what is the flow of process? First, the land is diverted for forest, and the forest land is actually diverted for other non-forest purposes, for any other developmental project. So this is approved under the Forest Conservation Act of 1918. Only after approving under the Forest Conservation Act of 1918, the forest land can be converted to any other purpose. But the user has to pay certain fees. The cost of compensatory afforestation has to be paid by the user. Also, the net present value will be calculated of that area, and that has to be paid by the user. So what do you mean by net present value? That might be the question you might be asking. Okay, so the net present value is the payment for ecological services lost due to forest diversion. It's the payment for the ecological services lost due to forest diversion. So what are the ecological services lost? It can be carbon sequestration, biodiversity, watershed protection, soil conservation, climate regulation, anything. All these ecological diversion will be given a value, will be given a price, and that will be collected as the net present value. Okay, and this fund will be deposited in the CAMPA. This fund will be deposited in the CAMPA, the national or the state or the national. So 10% of the fund will be going to the central fund, and 90% will be going to the state fund. This is the diversion of CAMPA funds. Okay, and this fund will be later used for afforestation, forest regeneration, wildlife protection, or forest management, any of this. So this flow chart can be utilized for your mains. Okay, now where does this CAMPA fund come from? This is an article. So this article is taken from the Hindu, and this heading is there in the Hindu, and all these facts mentioned here are taken directly from the Hindu article. Okay, so there is a high probability that this can be asked for your prelims, and those points are very well can be utilized for your mains also. So the primary source of CAMPA fund is compensatory charges levied from any person, organization, or government departments for diverting forest land. So here the government departments are also included. That is the point that I have to say here. So these charges include cost of compensatory afforestation applicable for compensating the loss of forest land, and these charges are non-lapsable, meaning they do not expire at the end of financial year and could be carried forward. So these charges are non-lapsable, and they are also interest bearing and are shared between national and state union territory in the ratio of 10:90. So 10% will be going to the center and 90 will be going to the state. Okay, very important. This is taken, all these sentences are taken directly from the Hindu. Okay, the national CAMPA is maintained in public accounts of India. So where is this CAMPA maintained? Public accounts of India, whereas state or union territory funds are maintained in public accounts of respective states or union territory. That's all. These are the various facts that are required related to CAMPA. Okay. Major criticism related to compensatory afforestation is also an important topic. Can be asked for your mains. Please have a look at the major points which you can write for mains. Okay, so here 6 points I have given here. There are various other points. Please download this slide, write down the various points which are the negative criticisms or criticisms of compensatory afforestation. So plantations are not natural forests. Okay, because we are a 100-year forest might have been lost due to a developmental projects, and we are planting a plantation that is not equivalent to this forest, obviously. And biodiversity of an area is lost, and that is not equivalent to the forest regenerated. And monoculture plantation is many a time propagated as a result of CAMPA fund, and that is not equivalent to the forest area that is lost, because that has much diverse ecosystem in it. And land availability constraints are also there, and poor survival rate of the CAMPA forest. The funds are utilized for afforestation, but we are not sure that the forest will survive at all, and the poor survival rate is one of the issue. And time lag in ecological recovery is the time lag in ecological recovery is also there. Suppose a 300-year forest is lost, there is a time lag so that the new area will become a forest, and the ecological recovery will not happen at an instant, right? So that is also there, and many a times the CAMPA funds are not utilized also. So all those kinds of examples you can write down as points for criticism of compensatory afforestation. Okay, so that's all about CAMPA. Let's check out the next topic. Coastal lions depend mainly on wild prey, study finds. So recently a scientific study has found that Asiatic lions inhabiting Gujarat's coastal belt primarily depends on wild prey rather than livestock. Earlier, it was a common perception that lions living near human settlements rely heavily on domestic animals. But understand that that perception is wrong. The recent study shows that Asiatic lion inhabiting Gujarat coastal belt primarily depends on wild prey rather than livestock. Earlier the contrary was believed, where lions common perception that the lions near human settlements rely heavily on domestic animals. So that is wrong. Okay, now you have to know various facts about this lion. So this is a picture of lion in the coastal region of Gujarat. Okay, so lions are found in the coastal regions of Gujarat. That might be an interesting fact, right? So we will check out some basic facts about lion. So the IUCN status is endangered, and in CITE and WPA it is included in Appendix 1 and Schedule 1 respectively, and it's endemic. The Asiatic lion is endemic to Gujarat in India. It is endemic to India, it's endemic to the Gujarat region, and it's even found in the coastal region. And recent study was done on coastal lions, and the coastal lions depend on wild prey rather than livestock. Earlier it was believed to be the contrary. Earlier it was not believed to be believed that way. Okay, and the major habitat include Gir landscape and surrounding areas. And the important thing to note is that the lion is endangered as per IUCN status right now. Let's check out the next article. Assam researchers find invasive alien plants are key nectar sources for butterfly. So, a benefit of invasive alien species is mentioned in this article. So, researchers in Assam have found that several invasive alien plant species serve as major nectar resources for butterflies. While invasive plants are generally regarded as harmful because they displace native vegetation, the study highlights a conservation dilemma. What is that conservation dilemma? Removing these plants without restoring native nectar plants could negatively affect butterfly population. So, invasive alien species, most of the time we hear about invasive alien species having negative impact on ecosystem, but this study shows that this invasive alien species serves as nectar source for butterflies in Assam. And that is why we are discussing about this conservation dilemma, where removing these invasive alien plants without restoring native nectar plants could negatively affect butterfly population. This is one of the examples of positive impact of invasive alien species. So go and check out other positive impact of invasive alien species. For the purpose of this article, we will know the names of certain species here. Okay, so can you identify this plant? This plant is actually Lantana camara. So this plant here is, so can you identify this plant? This plant is 𝐭 odorata. So can you guess the name of this plant in Malayalam? Do you know the name? This is communist pacha. Okay, communist pacha. And this plant here is Sisyphus mauritania. So all these plants are mentioned in the article, and understand that the name of these plants can be important because invasive alien species, the name has been asked by UPSC in previous years, and please check out the name of these plants. This 𝐭 odorata can be important here. So Lantana camara and 𝐭 odorata are recognized among the world's most aggressive invasive plant species and regarded as ecologically undesirable because of their negative impact on native vegetation and ecosystem functioning. And still in Assam, these plants have been serving as nectar sources for butterfly species in Assam, and that is why removing these plants without replacing them with the local plant species can have negative impact on many other species. Okay, so removing a invasive alien species can have ecological impact. That is a point you have to remember. So that's all about today. Let's see next week.
Amrita IAS Academy.